July 1918. The United States has been officially fighting in World War I for the Allied forces for a little over a year. Little did they know, the war was almost over. Down in central New York sat a TNT munitions factory known as Split Rock. Though a small plant from a small part of New York, Split Rock provided an enormous contribution to the United States and Allies during the tail end of World War I. However, the war wasn't the only one coming to an end. While explosions were happening across the world, there were explosions happening right here in Camillus, New York.
There was a lot of fire. It was a lot of confusion. There were people that just plain old disappeared.
Split Rock wasn't always a munition factory. Built in 1800, Split Rock started as a limestone quarry located on 3900 Onondaga Boulevard, Camillus, New York. In an area where there was an abundance of limestone and salt, the quarry was in the perfect place to produce soda ash.
In 1915, there was a push to make that area a tuberculosis sanitarium. It had been served as quarries. There were several different families. There was a Shanahan quarry, there was a Filer quarry, several different quarries named after many Irish families in the area. But when they ceased the quarrying, it was an empty piece of property, and that's when Solvay Process built the explosives facility.
The quarry days were over, and the munition plant had moved in, becoming a bigger employer to Syracuse residents and a bigger supplier to the Allies.
There were several jobs at the Split Rock plant. They had security, they had managers, they actually had their own cafeteria, so they had cafeteria staff. The different facilities had different workers depending upon the chemicals they were working with, and they also had women in a separate facility who worked in the picric acid.
However, Split Rock imposed many dangers to its workers and the residents of the surrounding area, simply from the nature of what it produced for the war. But to the people, they looked the other way knowing it was a paying job.
A Split Rock facility provided explosives, picric acid, also poison gas. So there was a variety of products that were made at the Split Rock facility in different buildings that went into the war effort for the Allies and then eventually just the United States.
Residents of the area were completely aware of what they were getting themselves into working and living close to Split Rock. In fact, accidents were not uncommon for the munition plant. Nonetheless, the plant continued working. New employees would come in and out every day. Split Rock was a threat people seemed to be able to handle until they couldn't.
The explosion happened on July 2nd, 1918, and it was, they think they heard several explosions. There was a lot of fire, there was a lot of confusion. There were people that just plain old disappeared because the fire and the heat and the pressure just annihilated several people. It was very, very confusing. People said they thought it was the end of the world. The war is going on. Did the war find its way to Syracuse, New York? People ran out of their houses. The ground shook, but they also knew that they saw some smoke and flames coming from the west side, and they went, it's got to be Split Rock.
Split Rock had finally met a threat it couldn't come back from. There were flames over 100 feet tall. 2,200 pounds of dynamite had exploded. In the surrounding area, windows shattered, horses bolted, and trolleys stopped. A huge ball of smoke shot up in the air, split like a rocket, and descended in a cloud of sparks. Human beings were being tossed in the air like flaming firecrackers, dead when they hit the ground. A witness had claimed. 50 men were found dead, 15 of them unidentified, and some people were never even found. Surprisingly, noxious gas was the main killer, rather than the fire itself. It's said that if one or more TNT buildings had blown up, Syracuse would have been blown off the map. What could have been caused an explosion so horrendous?
Rich Miller, the expert on the Split Rock explosion, really never came up with a definitive answer. He felt it was an accident, but there were conspiracy theories, a lot of conspiracy theories. Timing, they could have been the officers connected up with the company. He just felt it was an accident, and he felt that the inquest looked at from the wrong angle. They looked at what caused the explosion instead of what killed the men. It was a very traumatic event in this area because of, like I mentioned, what was going on, and they knew that probably the facility had the potential to explode.
Every hospital and morgue in the area was filled with victims of the explosion. For the ones who survived, they began their resignations. The Split Rock area was devastated. By the end of 1918, the munitions factory would officially close.
They decided not to rebuild. First of all, it was an absolute mess. I mean, you can imagine a big explosion. They knew that the war was ending, so there really wasn't going to be a demand for the product of it, that they were providing. So it was decided at that point not to invest in it. And then Solvay Process was investing in other products.
Today, Split Rock is an empty shell of what it once was, overgrown and barely recognizable. The Stone Crusher is the last of its remnants.
I believe that the men who worked in the quarry were unsung heroes because it was very dangerous work, and the amount of explosives that they provided to the war effort. That has been said that the United States would not have won, or would not have helped the England and the other allies win World War I if it hadn't been for the Split Rock factory.
The victims of Split Rock explosion shall remain remembered. May the day the rock blew up never be forgotten.